Welcome to episode 29 of the Tuesday Talk IU Athletics podcast. Joined by Director of Athletic Communications Larry Dielman and Student Assistant Connor Kukowski. This is Sports Information Director Andy Alvarez bringing you results and the news from this past week's action and previewing the week ahead in Immaculata Athletics. Baseball went 3-1 this week, had a big series win over Newman. Men's lacrosse picked up two conference wins. Women's lacrosse split 1-1 in conference play with a win over Gwynedd Mercy. Flag football took on Eastern in a single game on Saturday. Track and field broke more records at the sales. And both tennis teams earned wins in back-to-back matches. So softball played two doubleheaders this week. Let's get started looking back at last week's results.
All right, let's start off with baseball, who had a great week, going 3-1 in dominating wins over Stockton and Newman. Against Stockton, it was an 18-9 final for your Mighty Macs. Ryan Nace had 4 runs and 4 RBIs. Nick Turnage, who will be our guest in a little bit, had 4 hits in 5 at-bats. Bobby Woodward had 4 RBIs as well. Frankie McCartney went 4 innings on the mound with a strikeout. The Mighty Macs scored 5 runs in the second inning and 5 runs in the sixth. They really pulled away at the end to get that big non-conference win. Against Newman, it was a great weekend series. The Mighty Macs got the 2-1 win in the series. On Friday, it was an 11-1 victory in 7 innings at home for Immaculata. Alex LePage was on the mound, pitched a gem, and the bats came alive for Immaculata. And then on Saturday, it was a split with Newman. So the Mighty Macs won 16-1 in 7 innings for game one, but a 10-7 win for Newman in game two. Overall, some really good performances. And in those first two games, 27-2 combined is pretty good. JT Luther came up big on Friday in 3 at-bats, 3 runs, 3 hits, 3 ribbies. Matt Passerini was walked twice, and Alex LePage in 7 innings went with 116 pitches and 6 strikeouts. Then on Saturday, game one was a slugfest. Luke Hardknock in the first inning hit an inside the park grand slam. And if you guys saw on social media, we clipped that highlight, and it was quite a spectacle to see. Bobby Woodward had a 3-run homer in the fifth inning. JT Luther, Hardknock, and Woodward each had 3 runs and 3 hits. Hardknock and Woodward with 5 RBIs apiece. Thomas DeSarno won on the mound with 7 strikeouts in 5 1/3 innings. And then in game two, Matt Passerini and Hunter Weitzel each had 2 runs. Weitzel 3 hits and 3 ribbies. Stephen Devaney with 3 innings and 2 strikeouts on the mound. JT Luther was named the Atlantic East Conference Player of the Week, and Alex LePage on the weekly honor roll. Guys, a great weekend for baseball and a great week overall with Stockton. JT Luther went 10 for 15 at the plate this week with 8 runs and 6 RBIs. I think Bobby Woodward had like 11 RBIs for the week. Just some truly great numbers. And Andy, you were at Stockton too the other day. So, just great performances overall.
Yeah, I was fortunate to be able to take a couple of days down. My family has a shore home in New Jersey in Margate, so I spent a couple of days down there and got to enjoy going to see the game at Stockton. And the bats really came to life in that game, and that really set the tone, I think, for the week. They jumped out early and managed to maintain the lead. They didn't play the run ahead rule there that day, so we played out the game through nine. And Stockton closed it a little bit late in that game, but it was still a good all-around effort for the Mighty Macs. And then, obviously, you look at Friday, Alex LePage was dominant on the mound. I mean, Newman really, and only in that last inning did they really put a big threat on that board. And LePage was able to get his way out of that, and big win there. And then to get that start off on Saturday with a huge early part of that game, jump out to a 5-0 lead in that first inning. I mean, that was a big day for them, and a series win, very important when you're starting to compete for those 4 playoff spots in the baseball season. So it was a good all-around weekend for the end week for the baseball team.
And one more thing to add, the baseball team will be back at home on Tuesday, April 14th. They'll take on TCNJ at 3:30.
Yeah, pure domination for baseball this week. A lot of runs scored. That Luke Hardknock grand slam is something you don't see a lot, so that was fun to see. But they got some good games going this weekend. Hopefully, could get 3 wins against St. Elizabeth this weekend.
Moving on to men's lacrosse. The men's lacrosse team swept their week with a Atlantic East Conference wins over Marywood and Gwynedd Mercy, the latter of which was senior day here at Draper Wall Stadium on Saturday. Marywood, they won 8-5. Jude Azarano led the Mighty Macs with 3 goals. Jason Smarin had a goal and 2 assists. Colin Wolk had 4 ground balls, and Wolk, Bradley Mead, Brady Lynch each had a caused turnover. Matthew Ludlow made 13 saves in 60 minutes in the cage. Immaculata kind of pulled away with a 4-0 run in the second quarter that really, allowed them to put the game in good hands, and they were able to shut it down through the fourth quarter and come out with the 8-5 win. On Saturday, the Mighty Macs, they used a dominant second and third quarter, kind of combined to really pull away and put the game away. They went 12-5 over Gwynedd Mercy. Jason Smarin had 4 goals and an assist. Nick Senator, John Stellacio each had 2 assists. 5 players contributed 2 caused turnovers apiece. Matthew Ludlow was outstanding in goal with 20 saves and scooped up 6 ground balls. Obviously, the 3-0 run the 4 goal run in the second quarter. It was tied 1-1 at the end of the quarter. 4 goal run. They went into halftime up 5-2 as Gwynedd scored late. Then they had ended up scoring 3 goals in that third quarter to kind of put the game away, and some really good play. 9 seniors were honored: Bill Hill, Bradley Mead, Carnell Lofton Jr., Colton Rhodes, Daniel Alvarez, Matthew Frame, Matthew Ludlow, Ryan Convery, and Zach Johnson. This has been really one of the winningest senior classes we've had in the program history. So it was good to see them honored. Ludlow entered Saturday's game in the top 5 in D3 in save percentage. Obviously, that performance on Saturday should see his numbers rise. Jason Smarin was named the Atlantic East Conference Player of the Week once again, and Matthew Ludlow was Defensive Player of the Week. So the Mighty Macs sweep the Atlantic East Conference weekly awards again. And we're back up on Wednesday when they go out to play Montclair State in it's going to be a tough non-conference battle against Montclair State. And then they believe they get the weekend off since Centenary had to close their team down for the year. So it'll be a good test for them on Wednesday night. What's your guys' thoughts on men's lacrosse?
I interviewed the seniors prior to the game, and one word kept coming up in that interview was the job is not finished. So they are hunting for another AC championship, and it looks like they should be able to get the 2 seeds, so that would host a semifinal game here in 2 weeks. So that's good for them. But yeah, a lot of good hard fought battles and a lot of good clutch moments from this past week for men's lacrosse.
Yeah, just a great weekend overall for men's lacrosse, getting 2 wins in conference after that tough Marymount defeat right before Easter break. So now they have a winning record in conference. And really against Gwynedd Mercy, it was just a good performance on senior day. Obviously, senior day, you want to get a win any time of the year, but definitely on senior day, you want to get one for the guys who are about to graduate. Matthew Ludlow being in, roughly the top 5, pending when NCAA stats updates, being in the top 5 in D3 and save percentage is amazing. I mean, to be anywhere near that is probably just an honor for him to be there and, put us on the map. Sweeping the awards again for player and defensive player just shows you how great this team has truly become and is. And, Montclair State, like Andy said, it's going to be a tough one. They're a great program, and Centenary conceding their season, it eliminates a conference game and it gives them the weekend to kind of rest and prepare for Newman and kind of get ready for the postseason. So a lot of good stuff for men's lacrosse, and hopefully we can put up a good fight against Montclair State.
Yeah, it's one less game for wear and tear, kind of like in having one game less.
Switching gears to women's lacrosse. Women's lacrosse went 1-1 this week, fell to Marymount 19-3, but came back for a nice good win against Gwynedd Mercy on Saturday. 15-9 was the final there. Against Marymount, Kira Benoit led the way with 2 goals and 4 draw controls. Alexa Marzak scooped up 4 ground balls. Bailey Knights called 3 Marymount turnovers on defense, and Abigail Granary made 10 saves in 45 minutes in goal. And Gwynedd Mercy was their first conference win of the season. Elizabeth Mahmood had a team high 5 goals, 2 caused turnovers, and 10 draw controls. Two assists went to Kira Benoit. Julia Pole had 6 ground balls, and Guarneri added 8 saves in 60 minutes. And with those 10 draw controls from Saturday, Mahmood now surpassed 100 career draw controls between her time at St. Francis and Immaculata, and she was named the Atlantic East Conference Defensive Player of the Week. And we should mention, because they defeated Gwen Mercy, that puts them in a really good position to hopefully get that 4th seed and get them into the postseason. What are your guys' thoughts?
Yeah, it was a good week for the women's lacrosse team. Obviously, you also had some other performances in there. Leia Piperato had some goals in both games this week. Alexa Marzak had 4 goals on Saturday, I believe. I think Piperato had a hat trick and a goal against Marymount. So it's good to see some players putting up some numbers. And you look at it since Julia Pole and Kira Benoit have joined the team. Team is now 5-4, I believe. So it's been a good little turnaround for this team, and they're competitive. They should have a nice competitive non-conference game on Wednesday night when they take on Cedar Crest. They were able to beat them last year. I anticipate maybe Cedar Crest might be a little stronger this year, but it should be a good game to compete against as they prepare for the you're playing to try to lock in that playoff spot in against Centenary on Saturday. So it's been a good week for the women's lacrosse team, and hopefully they can continue with a couple of good games this week.
Women's lacrosse has really gotten into a groove since Julia Pole and Kira Benoit joined the team. And it's not all on them. They've been, catalysts, but it's not just been them. The team has started to click recently, and it's been good to see. That Marymount game was tough, but going to Gwynn and Mercy and getting that first conference win should be a great boost in their playoff hopes. And, Elizabeth Mahmood 100 career draw controls is great. I just looked at the stats. So she has 77 at the moment. She had 25 at St. Francis. The fact that she's like tripled in one season what she had in 2 years at St. Francis is just showing what kind of player she is. So congrats to her. Yeah, they're in a good spot for a playoff seed. So, once they face Centenary and Newman, we'll see where they can fall and playoff hopes where they possibly go, or if they host. We'll see how that goes. Let's switch over to tennis. Tennis had an interesting week. So they played back-to-back matches on Friday and Saturday. They were at Arcadia on Friday, and then on Saturday, they hosted Newman. The men's team fell to Arcadia 6-1, but they snapped their skid with a 4-3 win over Newman. The women, meanwhile, won both for the weekend, 4-3 over Arcadia and 5-2 over Newman. Starting with the men's team against Arcadia, Nick Brown and Alex Corsones won 6-2 in doubles. Easton Ragno and Patrick Arnold fell 7-6, 7-5 in doubles, so they went the extra distance in that doubles match. Alex Corsones won 8-6 in singles. Against Newman, Easton Ragno and Pat Arnold 6-3 in doubles. It was 6-1 in doubles for Nick Brown and Alex Corsones. Patrick Arnold, Nick Brown, and Alex Corsones all won singles matches. And then, meanwhile, for the women against Arcadia, Athena Criticson and Abigail Coelho won 6-2 in doubles. Sophia Carey and Laura Farrow, same thing. Laura Farrow was 6-3, 7-5 in singles. Elizabeth Madsen went the distance in a 3-set match, 3-6, 6-4, 10-5, and Ashley Badigan 6-1, 6-1. Over Newman, Delaney Brown, Haley Elwell with a big 7-5 win in doubles. Sophia Carey and Elizabeth Madsen 6-2. Ashley Badigan and Laura Farrow 6-3. In singles, Sophia Carey, Laura Farrow, Haley Elwell, and Ashley Badigan all had singles wins, and Laura went the distance as well, or she at least had like an extra part in her match. She went 7-6, 7-4 in that first set, and then 6-2 in the second, so winning in a overtime, if you will. So some great matches. The men have had a tough season, but bouncing back over Newman actually puts them in a playoff hunt. So the Atlantic East Conference tournament for tennis this year will be hosted by Newman. So getting that win over the will-be host is definitely a great start for them, and the men, seeing a win hopefully that kind of boosts their confidence and their play over this next week or so. Alex Corsones and Laura Farrow made the AEC Weekly Honor Roll, and up next they'll finish the regular season at Marywood next Saturday, the 18th at 4 o'clock. So, guys, tennis getting on the board this week. The women with a sweep, the men 1-1 on the week. But good to see our tennis teams get back to action with some wins.
Yeah, it was definitely good to see them win those. Obviously, for the women to get a win up at Arcadia was big, and then to come home and beat Newman, pretty 5-2 was a solid victory for them. And to see so many players do so well, you sweep all three doubles match, which gets you 1 point, but then you have to win a certain number of the singles matches to clinch the overall match. So they got good performances out of a lot of people. Our traveling senior there, Alex Corsones, making an impact in a third sport now, helping them fight their way into a playoff spot. And it's good to see that Hit Farrow and Corsones are being recognized by the conference this week. I mean, Laura Farrow won both her singles and doubles matches and over the weekend, so that's a big result for the Mighty Macs, and good to see the tennis team heading back to postseason again.
I should mention tennis actually had another win this week, and that was a 27-25 overtime win over basketball in Volley a Wish. Right after they got done their match against Arcadia, they hurried over to the gym and won Volley a Wish. So that was good to see, and it was a good battle with basketball in the end there. Switching gears to flag football. Flag football went 1-1 this week. The win was a Marywood forfeit. It was supposed to be a try match with Eastern and Marywood, but Marywood had the forfeit, so we get the win. They played Eastern on Saturday in a single game. Going into the game, Immaculata was number 21 in the most recent Women's College FlagFootball.com top 25 poll, and Eastern was number 12. Unfortunately, the Mighty Macs fell to the Eagles. 13-0 was your final. Devin Cosgrove was 16 for 27 passing, 107 yards, and one interception. Cosgrove also ran 9 times for 28 yards. Eliana Sikowski led the receiving corps with 8 catches for 68 yards. Frankie Brunkel has 6 tackles, 5 solo. Tiara Lauer also had 5 solo tackles and a sack, and 4 players had a pass breakup. Jacqueline Malinini also had a 12-yard interception return. Despite the end result, both teams were scoreless in the second half. Jacqueline Malinini and Eliana Sikowski made the AAC Weekly Honor Roll. And up next, they will verse Chestnut Hill with Newman for a tri-match to end the regular season on April 18th at 11 a.m. at Chestnut Hill. They're in good position to host a playoff game next Tuesday, I believe. They're going in. They should have the 3 seed if all things pan out correctly, but a lot of good things for flag football right now.
Yeah, flag football is definitely on the right track. They're getting most likely they'll be hosting that playing game next Tuesday, the 21st. The Eastern game is a tough one, second time this season that Eastern got the shutout, but hats off to them. They're a great team, but I know our team is definitely going to play hard on Saturday with Chestnut Hill and Newman. We got 2 wins over them the last time we played them, so it'll definitely be a strong game for them overall. And you had some great play. Jacqueline Molinini with a interception. Eliana Zakowski was great in the receiving game, so it'll be a good one. I think these won't be a little bit closer. The last time that we played those two, we beat Chestnut Hill 32-0 and Newman 27-6. And with it being on the road, I don't know if it's going to be like that again, but hopefully they'll have a strong end of the regular season as they head to the playoffs.
Yeah, it was still a good game for our team on Saturday. Early game, 10 a.m. in the morning was an early game, and I was down on field level taking some pictures. So it was a struggle down there. Both teams were battling hard, and they did a good job defensively in that game, really limiting the big plays for Eastern, something that they weren't able to do at Eastern the last time. So that was big, and they had a couple of nice plays, and hopefully they can try to get their offense a little more opened up next time they play them if they see each other in the playoffs. So.
Switching gears to track and field, men's and women's track and field broke more records and personal records this weekend. Starting off with the men, Dylan Cruz and Aaron Cuthbert, Joseph Pierre-Jacques, and Maurice Franklin placed third in the 4x100 relay with a time of 47:79. 8 of 14 men's results were PRs this weekend. They were at the sales, by the way. I don't know if I mentioned in the top. Dylan Cruz tied for second in high jump at 1.83 meters. That's a PR and tied the program record for Immaculata. Colin Corkery was third in the hammer throw, 41.58 meters, a personal record and double program record, and 8 of 18 field results were PRs. On the women's side, Abby Grillo, another IU program record in 400 meters and won the event. 58.79 was your final time. She was the runner-up time and the program record in the 800 meters at 2:16.33. Jack Leone placed first in the 1500 meters with at 5:10.91. Aubrey Donahue won the 5K race at a time of 18:44.71. Both relay teams came in top three finishes. Aubrey Beckford was first in the pole vault at 2.89 meters, and Maggie Friend broke the record in hammer throw 25.63 meters, and that was good for 10th place. Colin Corkery, Maggie Friend, and Abby Grillo were named to the AAC Weekly Honor Roll. So a little bit of a different week this week for the track and field team. Three runners, including myself, will be at Moravian on Friday night to run the 10K. And then the rest of the team will head to Misericordia on Saturday, April 18th for that matchup. So another good week and a lot of records falling for track and field.
Yes, it was a good weekend for the track and field team. I know it's good to see some more records being broken. The usual events, the throwing events with Maggie Friend and Colin Corkery, and then obviously Abby Grillo has been a real strong addition to the team. So that was a good weekend for the track teams.
Yeah, track and field's been doing great. I mean, like kind of every weekend, Andy writes the women's recap. I write the men's. So looking at the results, men are usually downing a lot of PRs every week, and Colin Corkery's doing double record IU record breaks every week. It seems like I kind of just copy and paste the same. Broke the record once, and then second time, he's really doing a great job. And Dylan Cruz tied that record, so he's been great with joining the team this year. So it's just been awesome to see the track field really grow. Very
Moving
happy.
on to softball. The Immaculata softball team was 0-4 this week, but the games were competitive all around. But on Tuesday up at St. Elizabeth, they fell 4-2 and 9-6 in games 1 and 2. Emily Davis, Natalia D'Onofrio, and each had a run, sort of run in game one. Alexis Andrada had 3 hits and an RBI. Davis added an RBI. Sarah Pearson pitched 3 and a third with a strikeout. St. Elizabeth scored three straight innings to pull away. In game two, Jamie Green and Carly Karcher each had 2 runs scored. Karcher and Andrada logged 2 hits apiece. Andrada had 3 RBIs. Jessica Vito went 4 1/3 innings on the hill with 81 pitches. On Thursday, they played Widener. They lost 8-1 in the first game and 2-1 in the second game. Jamie Green registered the lone run in the first game with 2 hits. Riley Martin had 2 hits. Then Alexis Andrada had an RBI. Jessica Vito started for 2 innings and had 2 strikeouts. In game two, Emily Davis scored the Immaculate's only run. Casey Pasco prevented a no-hitter with the team's lone hit. Sarah Pearson went 7 innings with 6 strikeouts. Pearson threw 186 pitches between the two games against Widener. A Pride single in the fifth inning was the go-ahead score for the Pride in that day. And the softball team will be back in action on Tuesday when they host Delaware Valley for a doubleheader at 3 and 5 at the IU softball field.
Yeah, softball, tough week for them after that big centenary win before Easter. Dropping two against St. Elizabeth and Widener is definitely tough, but hopefully they can bounce back this week with Delaware Valley being on Tuesday. And, they have a couple conference series left, which, they're not out of the playoff race just yet. Some great games. St. Elizabeth, like you said, Sarah Pearson has been a beast on the mound this year, despite just being a freshman. I just remembered that like the other day, I think. I was like, I was on the website roster, I don't know, it was like during the game or something. I saw she was a freshman. I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot I forgot she was a freshman. She's been doing so good. And, against Widener, Widener, they're in the MAC Commonwealth. They see a lot of great schools. They see Messiah and York a lot. So, getting battle tested against teams like that, they're going to be a great team. And, the offense kind of had its struggles against the Pride pitching, but they did the best they could, and hopefully they can bounce back this week. Sarah Pearson, 186 pitches is absolutely insane. Softball is just a different breed because obviously if you see 186 pitches in baseball, there's a serious problem. Softball, the pitching motion is a little more natural, and that's why you're able to get that many pitches in a single day. So hopefully they can bounce back this week and get back in the win column.
I think now would be a good time to bring in our guest, Nick Turnage from the baseball team. We'll be with Nick when we return after this quick break on the Tuesday Talk IU Athletics podcast. Welcome back to the Tuesday Talk IU Athletics podcast. We are now joined by our guest, Nick Turnage from the Immaculata baseball team. Welcome to the show, Nick.
Thank you, Andy. I appreciate it.
How did you get your start playing baseball?
So I started playing baseball when I was 8 years old. Played t-ball before that, but pretty much I just played at my little league back in Orlando, Florida, Dr. Phillips Little League, and that's how I started.
So, Nick, this past week, the offense put up a lot of big numbers this week, especially in this Newman series and the Stockton game. What's the energy like in the dugout during those games?
It's been very high, very intense. Everybody's just into the game. There hasn't been a moment where it's just been like silent. It's just been really like rowdy and like everybody's just like together, and it's really like fun to watch.
Last Tuesday, you guys had an 18-9 win at Stockton. I was at that game. You had 4 hits and 2 RBIs. What were you seeing that day?
At the plate, I felt really good. The pitchers were starting me off a little backwards. They were kind of throwing an off-speed pitch, but my approach was sitting on that fastball, and that's what they were really throwing, that second pitch of that bat. So a little bit of both off-speed and fastballs, but really just sitting on that fastball and hitting that as much as I can.
How did that Stockton win help you guys carry the momentum into the series with Newman and win 2 out of 3 against the Knights in a big AEC series?
I think it's something that we really needed as a team. I think with a lot of like the out of conference games, we've been struggling a bit, and Stockton, them being in like the NJAC, was like a huge win for us, and it was just I think the spark we needed. So it just like carried on towards the weekend. Offensively, we just stuck to our approach from what we did against Stockton, and we were able to like really focus on winning the first game Friday, and then we knew Saturday was going to be important for us, so we just kept that same mindset. And we ended up, getting that first one Saturday. Unfortunately, last game, we didn't win, but we still put up a lot of runs that game. So just to kind of like see the team, collectively doing well, I think what helped this weekend especially.
Coach Kopsky said the team puts tough opponents in the non-conference schedule to prepare you guys for conference play. How do you guys prepare for those games, even if the results don't go your way? Like, for example, you guys recently faced Swarthmore, who was receiving votes in the D3Baseball.com top 25 poll, and that was a tough one. You guys have Rowan and Salisbury coming up. They're always powerhouses in baseball. So how do you prepare for some of these tougher opponents, even if they don't go your way?
He definitely does give us a pretty tough schedule, but as a team and like what we're trying to do, we have to like prepare the same way. We have to stick to what we believe will make us successful. If we try to like change based on, like each opponent, then like, the team may not feel as confident based on like what made us successful before. So we just try to go with the same mindset, and with like how we're playing right now, especially, there's no reason to change. We just got to keep doing what we're doing. And when it doesn't go our way, we just got to, keep moving forward. We can't let those tough innings or tough losses affect us. We just got to look at our next opponent and be like, yeah, we're going to go, we're going to win this game and keep moving forward.
How would you describe your hitting approach? Are you more of a contact guy, gap to gap, or situational hitter?
I would say for like the majority of my career, I was definitely more contact, just put the ball in play. And I feel like I'm still doing that. I'm definitely added a lot more like power to my game. I'm definitely hitting more doubles. So as like a overall hitter, I'd say mainly contact, but I'm starting to become more gap to gap, I would say.
Kind of expand on like you're hitting a different approach. Like obviously the game of baseball, there's a lot of different situations that you may hit it, whether you be leading off an inning, coming up to the plate with runner in scoring position. How do you approach those different types of situations and then with that?
So with like the different types of situations, lead off, if we focus on lead off real quick, trying to get on base, you're not trying to, get down in the count. You don't want to hit a pitcher's pitch. You want to hit your pitch. So that's what I do from a leadoff perspective. From runners in scoring position, I want to be more aggressive because I want to drive those runs in. So if he throws a good pitch and I think I can, hit it, I'm going to take a good swing at it. But overall, whether it's leadoff and like runners in scoring position, I try not to like think about it too much because then it ends up like kind of like getting in my head. So I just try to see the ball and hit the ball as my main approach.
What would you say is your favorite moment as part of the Immaculata baseball team? It could be this season, it could be in seasons past, it could be as recent as this weekend. So what would you say is one of your top moments?
Yeah, I'll do one like all my favorite all time, and then one from this season. So all time was definitely playing in the regional back in my freshman year when we went down to Christopher Newport. That's something like I've never experienced before. If you kind of like take like my high school career and like I never really won a whole lot, and this was like my first time like really like experiencing something and being able to like try to go win something even bigger. So that was just like a blessing to play in and like something I always remember from this season. Honestly, it has to be this last series against Newman. I think you're definitely seeing a turning point in the team. Everybody's starting to like gel and starting to like really like play with each other. And this was like probably some of the most fun I had so far this season as a team.
Do you ever see yourself coaching baseball?
I do. That's, what I want to do after college. My goal would be to be a Division I head baseball coach at a Power 4 school. That would be my end goal. But obviously, you got to work your way up and gain that experience. So obviously, I'm up for anything. But for sure, baseball has been part of my life ever since I was younger. So I don't want it to be out of my life.
Obviously, there's a lot of different players and different backgrounds on your team. Who would you say is the funniest person on the baseball team?
So there's a few. There was like three that came to mind. Joey Ditta is definitely very funny. Luke Hardnock, one more like the veteran guys, is super funny as well. And then another freshman, Vaughn McVeigh, super funny. But if you had to ask me out of three of them, I think it's Vaughn. He just puts a smile on my face every time, and he always has something funny to say, which is always like nice to hear and all that. So
You guys were having some fun there in the bench during that Stockton game on Tuesday. I was kind of hanging on the edge of the bench there and everything, and give each other a hard time at different times. Getting on Luther when he hit the top of the fence, telling him to hit the weight room. You guys seem to have some fun out there. We do appreciate you coming in and talking with us today, Nick. We wish you guys good luck in the good week games this week, and this weekend another big conference series with St. Elizabeth. Thank you.
thank you.
And we'll be back after this quick break on the Tuesday Talk IU Athletics podcast. And welcome back to the Tuesday Talk IU Athletics podcast. It's a good interview there with Nick, and it's good insight to him and the baseball team and the success that they're having right now. It should be hopefully another good week for the for the Mighty Macs. We're looking forward to this week's games, and we hope you'll join us next week when we return for the Tuesday Talk IU Athletics podcast. Roll Max.